Two channel favorites are facing off against each other in a best-of-3 series of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss vs Zerg that was played during the final Premier Tournament of 2023. $75,000 is on the line for this particular event, so both of these players will certainly be bringing out their very best strategies. So spawning right here in the bottom left-hand corner of a map called Alcyone, playing with the blue Protoss pieces from the greatest country in the world, from the Netherlands. Of course, we're looking at none other than Harstem's main Nexus. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. She's from Canada, and she goes by the name of Scarlett. Alrighty, now I heard that this particular series is a lot of fun, so let's find out together exactly what ended up going down. Harstem going for a scoutless opener here. This is one of those builds that, yeah, is very risky, especially on the ladder. So already you can tell that this is a tournament series. He's trying to cut a corner. Generally speaking, Scarlett is the favorite going into a match like this. At least historically, she is the more successful player, but there's no denying that, well, in every single cast that I've featured Harstem in over the last couple of months, I've been very impressed. And it seems to me that the man has been making some solid progress as far as his skill goes. So, anyways, he's cutting a small corner here, trying to save himself those resources from scouting the other side of the map. Looks like it will work out just fine. It's gonna be a hatchery first right here into a gas geyser, into a spawning pool. And yeah, when you know the tendencies of your opponent, obviously this is a corner that you can cut most of the time. Will we go for a scout now? Yeah. It's gonna be a scout with that cybernetics core. This is, generally speaking, the worst scout timing that you can go for, but at the very least it's nice to know whether or not, for example, the gold base was taken as the very first expansion. And basically every single cast that I have featured Solar in, there you go, the Korean Zerg player Solar. He's been going for that base over at the golden minerals pretty much every single game. And yeah, knowing that right from the start would be very handy right here for Harstem. He will find out though that his early game cut right there does end up working out for him just fine. Adept on the back of this, we're gonna chrono boost that out. No warp gate research just yet, so that's an indicator indeed that it's gonna be a Stargate inside of the main base. Now the reason, by the way, why Protoss players and Terran players like to cut out that worker scout whenever possible, it sounds pretty minor, right? Like, yeah, how much mining can this probe really get in if it isn't scouting the other side of the map? Well, a worker in StarCraft 2, it mines about 0.8 minerals or so a second on average. Meaning that, yeah, if you sent that worker out for 100 seconds, right, which is pretty reasonable, you lose about 80 minerals. Which is actually quite substantial over the course of a game, right? Imagine if a Zerg player loses one of their early game overlords, and overlord is 100 minerals. That's very significant and not really something you want to have happen. So even though it looks relatively minor, it really does add up over the course of a game. So far though, nothing all too exciting has happened, yeah, in this game. I mean, we've got ourselves a triple hatch opener right here for Scarlett. She's defending against this very first adept very nicely. Mostly what Harstem is trying to do here is see if there's, say, for example, a Baneling Nest or a quick Roach Warren or a Lair or something out of the ordinary. Any worker kill here, of course, is nice, but generally speaking, the Adept is not going to commit until an Oracle is out, and there indeed it does come up. Harstem instead, I mean, he wants to deal damage, I'm sure, but he also wants to go for a very nice and early third Nexus, so any damage that you really deal is going to be a bonus. Third Nexus is coming up, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So that is a very tight early game timing right here for Harstem. It's important here to be conservative with the Oracle. Yeah, when you go for such a quick third base, any losses, right? Say this Oracle dies, even if it kills like 5 workers, you're in a world of trouble, especially on a map like this, because Scarlett will be more than happy to get the queens towards the other side of the map and probably win the game. That's how we see a lot of games going wrong for Protoss over the last couple of months, really over the last couple of years. You lose one of your first units, and, well, that's basically game. Alright, getting a queen would be real good. That also immediately shuts down potential, right, for the Zerg to go for a rush towards the other side of the map. I mean, you can still do it, of course, but it would hit quite a bit later. And, well, I mean, at the very least, if you want to remake that queen, it would hit later. And in general, it's not going to be quite as strong. So, no early game damage done as far as worker losses go, but still, yeah, Oracle's putting in a little bit of work. It's going to be a Lair right now on the back of this 2 here for Scarlett. Normal timing, nothing all too greedy. Oh, okay. Really? Harstem is just murdering queens today, apparently. Gonna come at the cost of one of the oracles right now, but... oh god. Okay. I was gonna say, losing 2 oracles for 3 queens, I don't love. It's an interesting dynamic. So normally, whenever you lose an oracle, it means that the queen push is super dangerous. But if you've lost 3 queens already, can you still really consider going for a queen push? Probably not. Alright, anyways, Alera's going to finish up. We've got ourselves a Roach Warren done right now as well. Scarlett is preparing a lot of overlords. She also added on 5 more gases. So up until this point, she's just been on a single gas geyser. She pulled drones out of gas as well for a while. Okay, we're gonna be going for a 4th hatchery here, over at the Golden Minerals. Problem with this base for Zerg is that you expand in the direction of the Protoss, which is usually what you want to try and avoid. Generally speaking, Zerg players, they like to expand away from their opponent, because, well, they're the ones with the faster moving units. So, the more distance you can, put between you and your opponent, the better it's gonna be. Great play, though, so far. By Mr. Harstem. I mean, losing 1 oracle, I think it's okay in this situation because of the fact that the queens died. Oh, interesting. Okay, so she probably considered going for a queen march. I think that... I mean, unless she doesn't queue up any overlords here, I think that this is not going to be for a fast hive. I think this is for swarm hosts. I've seen this a bunch on this map. You can quite easily send locusts from over here or from over there towards the different locations where Protoss has built their infrastructure. Yeah, 7 overlords are coming up, so this is indeed Scarlett making a transition towards, I want to say, the worst Zerg unit in the entire game. She's gonna be playing Mass Swarm Host here. Now, this is a unit that generally is only played when Zerg players are feeling very uncomfortable. Generally, we see Swarm Host play primarily whenever the Zerg player is behind. Sort of as like a comeback mechanic, right? Now, if Harstem can get a catch on this, right? So, will we be able to see this? He's got technically vision of it. Looking around right now for a Spire. Did he notice the Swarm Host right there? Yeah, well, he must have seen them in the main base as well with that hallucinated Phoenix. Alrighty, so Swarm Host should have been spotted at this point. But what do you do right now as a Protoss player, right? Okay, so first order of business is move out. We're gonna go for a Void Ray as well. Okay, charge is done. This is certainly a moment where Zerg is relatively weak. So what you want to try and do as a Protoss is force those locusts to be used defensively. Anything to get the locusts off your back. Now, I love this counter attack right here from Scarlett. Scarlett realizes, yo, this is very likely going to be a relatively fake push right here from the Protoss just to try and get me to trigger my locusts. So now they do get activated. Only a handful of them, though. Roach counter attack here is gonna at the very least force this army to go back home. Arcona lives for now. Well, it is gonna end up going down. Now the rest of the locusts finally get activated too. This first locust wave is usually the one that deals the most damage. So far, it's done basically nothing. Oh, even that pylon will stay alive. Yeah, the problem you can run into, right, as a Protoss is that tempo advantage. So the first wave deals a bit of damage, then the second wave deals a bit more damage, and the third wave of locusts that deals even more, and then suddenly you just can't keep up. So far, I think this is okay for Harstem. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but it's not as bad as it, well, very frequently is against Swarm Hosts. I actually really do like that little fake move out. Yeah, it was mostly just to try and get at least some of those locusts to activate. Now the locusts, by the way, are out of sync. So only, about half of those Swarm Hosts have activated their ability. Okay, that's another Archon that will go down. Nice bit of damage done. Hydra then on the back of this. Zergling transition as well. I would not be surprised if this is going to be Lurkers right now or something along those lines. I don't love this Swarm Host, this Ravager Cocoon location, though, but it looks like Harstem is not going to be taking that opportunity. Does he not know about the golden base? No, he does. He's just waiting for this base to be taken next. Looks like Scarlett has decided to take her 5th base over at the 3 o'clock position here instead. Now the hive comes up as well. So Scarlett is going for Swarm Host. It's about a dozen or so in total, I think, is what she made. And now she's essentially transitioning straight away from it. So a cool style to play Swarm Host for sure, right? This is not like a, I need to come back into this game and deal as much damage as possible. This is a macro Swarm Host transition, as weird as that sounds. This is Scarlett thinking, I'm not in the greatest of positions because I lost my queens, but I'm also not really in a position where I feel really far behind here. But if I just, play this passively, there's a good chance Protoss is gonna outgrow me. So I'll try my very best and just deal some damage, throw a bit of a curveball at my opponents. Now, these Zealots over here have been putting in a lot of work. The Void Ray numbers, by the way. How many Void Rays have we had? Okay, it's only a third one right now coming up. +3 is going to finish up for the ground units momentarily. Storm is about 80% of the way done here as well for Harstem. What Harstem is trying to do is just make a very large amount of Protoss. So, generally speaking, the way that you fight, well, Swarm Host as a Protoss player is max out. If you can max out, usually you'll find yourself with a far superior army, because those Swarm Hosts are incredibly supply heavy. So you make about a dozen Swarm Hosts, nice Locust Wave over here, killing 12 probes as well. Yeah, if you manage to max out, usually those Swarm Hosts are just not going to be able to carry Zerg towards the later stages of the game. And that's what I quite like right here for Scarlett, because she's making a transition towards Lurkers. So, Protoss is trying to max out. I think that Harstem will get there eventually, but the Swarm Host numbers have dwindled already. We're only up to 7 right now, and big Storm over here. Getting rid of some of the Roaches, I don't mind it. A full transition towards like Hydra, Lurker, Viper, I think would be ideal right now for Scarlett. Harstem trying to build up an army though. Build up mostly of Immortal, Archon, Zealot, Storm. This is a unit composition that deals very well with this particular army here for Scarlett, but it's mediocre at best against Lurker-based forces. Although I have seen a lot of games as of late where Harstem actually is one of the very few Protoss players who feels comfortable playing a ground-based army against Lurkers. Most Protoss players, there they come, like to transition towards Skytals instead, but Harstem certainly likes to stick around on Robo units for a bit longer than the average professional Protoss. A little bit awkward over here. These units in the bottom right don't see each other. Right now, though, I think there will be a little bit of information. Okay. Yeah, so Scarlett losing these Swarm Hosts is probably something that she's looking for at this point. Do we have any sort of Skytals transition yet? No. No. So it's just mass Immortal production here, which is very risky. There's a weird dynamic between this ground-based Protoss army and this Lurker-based army, because in small numbers, this Protoss force will absolutely destroy Lurkers. However, like when the Lurkers are in small numbers, right? When you have like 20 Lurkers out, it is going to be nearly impossible for a ground-based Protoss force to shut down the Lurkers. Right now, there's also, well, I think a transition towards Brute Lords on the horizon in this game. If Scarlett can go both Brute Lords as well as Lurkers, there's just no chance for a ground-based army for the Protoss anymore. Harstem has some money here to make that transition, but now he's maxed out. He's got some money here to make that transition towards a Skytals-based army. Lovely little run-by here over on the right side of the map. Locust trying their best to defend against this, but already a bunch of damage here is being done, and Harstem actually decides to jump some of the Lurkers. Now the Lurkers are all burrowed underground, though. You gotta be so careful here as Protoss. Keep in mind that you do need detection here as well. Losing, that Observer there would be a disaster. 17 drones on the back of this. Hydra, Lurker, Viper, and yeah, I haven't seen any Vipers yet. We have some Ravagers now coming into the mix, but I think I would have rather seen some of that gas go onto Vipers instead. I know that there are already High Templar out, of course, and High Templar do have an ability called Feedback that can get rid of those, spellcasters from the Zerg, but I do still think it's a good choice. Now there, finally, is the Fleet Beacon as well. Yeah, Fleet Beacon and 2 additional Stargates, I think would be a good choice right here for Harstem. So Harstem's maxed out. This is what he's been aiming for the entire game long against Swarm Hosts. But, yeah, the Swarm Host army is long gone at this point, right? I mean, we still have 2 remaining. Hard to call you guys an army, I'm sorry. Don't want to be a jerk about it, but you guys are... you look cool, but that's about it. So what do we do now with these Protoss units? Brute Lords, by the way, are indeed coming. Brute Lords and Lurkers do fulfill much of the same role, so Scarlett is not really in a rush. Love these Zealot run-bys though. Scarlett actually not doing a great job defending against them. So this army is mostly just here for posturing, right? We should really have seen 2 Lurkers burrow over here on the right side of the map, maybe prevent these Zealots from dealing so much damage. But you can see that Scarlett is really afraid of Harstem just pushing through the center of the map, and destroying that massive lurker army that she's not really keen to split off some of her defensive tools here. I think that's gonna cost her. 17 drones end up going down. 6 probes apparently also fell, but Harstem is keeping some supply available to continuously warp in zealots. And these zealots are dealing a lot more damage than this main army here from the Protoss player is. Greater Spire, however, is gonna finish up. Ooh, getting the lurker den would be really big. Well, he's targeting it down, and I think he will get it. Okay, he apparently decided to attack move there. Maybe a follow-up warp in will be able to get some damage done. Lurkers right now, though. From the high ground, also putting in some work. Looks like the Prism does get sniped. Yeah, so notice the fleet beacon is here, but we don't go for additional Stargates yet. And this is really only something Harstem does. I don't know if I'm comfortable with it, but I have seen him win a lot of games from this particular spot. Using the... Oh, okay, the fleet beacon for a mothership instead. So rather than focusing on a full-on Skytoss transition and going into Tempest and carriers and all the rest of it, it's just mostly for the Mama ship? Harstem believes that the Mama ship is actually good? Ay, 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 ay. I think it's good too, by the way. Yeah, no, I do believe it's good. It's just that in the general StarCraft 2 community, right? It's pretty obvious most people are not a fan of the Mama ship. I think it's very good. For 300 minerals, 300 gas, especially when Zerg refuses to make Vipers here, I don't think it's a bad choice. So, the reason why I would have liked to see Vipers is because Harstem is just moving around. I don't know if he's ever actually going to engage this. Nah, he's not really engaging. So, Vipers are real strong against this particular force because she can just, well, abduct units, right? And force some of those big engagements at the very least, or at the very least, make it a consideration for the Protoss player. Again, the Zealot run-bys are dealing too much damage. Lurkers here not burrowed in time. Lurker Den gets remade because these Zealots have just now finished the job. So Harstem mostly just tiptoeing at the edge of creep, never actually fighting. 100% a strategic choice. Oh, well, there's always an opportunity, but as soon as the Lurkers burrow on the ground, Harstem disappears. Zealots on the right side of the map. Yeah, so the Zealots are on the opposite side of the map of where that main Protoss force is. So you can see that Harstem is controlling the pacing of this game brilliantly. Scarlett is ready for a fight. She has been ready for a fight, but the fight's not coming yet. Now finally a Viper is out. Insta feedback. Lovely work. Zealots here dealing so much damage. I think Scarlett is being harassed to death. Yeah, she's been in a position to win the main fight for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. But Harstem has never taken the main fight. So he's tiptoeing around, making sure that Zerg can't move out, and now finally are the abductions coming in. So this is what we should have seen at least 4 minutes ago. 39 drones have just gone down. Yeah. So Scarlett is essentially now on just, well, one base. In total, she's got at most one base economy. And despite the fact that we do now have that fleet beacon and additional Stargates, and we're going air upgrades, Harstem still focuses on just making a lot of Immortal Archon. Dare I say it? Harstem is heavily outplaying Scarlett in this game. It's not even close. Excellent work against the first influx of swarm hosts, and then excellent control against this Zerg army as well. You can tell that without spellcasters, and clearly Scarlett has won a lot of games because Protoss has just sort of marched into the lurkers or forced the engagement, right? But without lurkers, very hard to get much done. Mothership right here uses its cloaking ability, which these days is on a cooldown. Hydra then gets remade, but this is becoming really pricey. The only downside right here for Harstem is that Scarlett still has an absurd amount of money in the bank. She doesn't currently have any tech, though. Yeah, so she may have a Lurker Den, but that's about it. No Hydra Den, no Infestation Pit. We have a Roach Warren, but do you really want to make Roach Warren against an army that consists of 10 Immortals? Probably not. So she's got all that money, but nothing to spend it on, dude. Must be nice, huh? Scarlett is the Jeffrey Bezos of... Oh, okay, well this is tough. of StarCraft 2. Then again, Harstem is rich. Yeah. Getting a lot of income here. 69 workers in total. That's pretty nice. Scarlett trying to triple expend right now. She does have some decent creep spread around the map. I like how this entire Protoss army has essentially just become like the janitor crew over here, right? He's really just using this entire force of his for at least the last 10 minutes just to clear out creep. Any mistake from the Zerg seems to get punished. And honestly, we're now at a point where, yeah, it's still 16 lurkers. I was thinking maybe Protoss can jump it, but it's always dangerous to engage into burrowed lurkers like that. Couple nice storms over here, good feedback as well. Essentially, right, the janitor crew right here of the Protoss is soft containing the Zerg. Like Harstem is saying, yo, you can have 3 bases, but no more. And considering we're, yeah, 20 minutes into this game, over 20 minutes right now, you're gonna be broke. It's a style that we see played quite a bit by Zerg versus Protoss. Zerg versus Terran as well. Now the cloaking, by the way, gets activated. Is there any detection nearby? Scarlett does have detection, but she doesn't see this massive Protoss force. Harstem cleans up most of the lurkers, completely undetected, and, well, that's gonna give him the win in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on the map site Delta. Expertly played right there by Harstem. Although, I really do wonder what that game would have looked like if Scarlett decided to mix in those spellcasters significantly earlier. I kind of feel like that's a theme in some of the games that I've seen her play lately, where, yeah, she's really just trying to swarm the opponent. The problem is, right, whenever you play Zerg without spellcasters, you rely on your opponent making mistakes. So, if your opponent doesn't really make a lot of mistakes and they don't take what we saw in the previous game, for example, they don't walk onto creep and take the main engagement, yeah, you can't really get much done. Fungal growth and especially abduction and parasitic bomb and all that, it's incredibly good at punishing errors from the opponent. But if you're just sitting there and you're not really doing a whole lot and your strategy is to cross your fingers and hope your opponent marches onto creep, that would work against me. It would work against other players out there, but against professionals, I'm not 100% sure that it's the best approach. Anyhow, Site Delta, another map that's relatively normal, albeit one without any... Pause, please. Go, go, go. All right. Albeit one that doesn't have golden minerals on it. So the corner bases here, relatively easy to acquire. We don't really see them all too often. Kind of feel like this base could have been a gold. Same for the one in the bottom left. We don't really see it being taken that often, because... yeah, it's just tough. I actually think it would have been very reasonable to update these bases to like a 6-patch golden base instead. I would actually like to see that. Generally speaking, the only updates to maps that we ever see in StarCraft 2 are whenever there's like a bug, right? To say, for example, you can't properly wall off over here, or like the unbuildable plates are forgotten, or whatever, right? Like if there's little errors. Sometimes I remember there were like locations where stalkers could get to with blink that really wasn't meant to be. So sometimes you could just get your stalker stuck, right? Little mistakes like that, usually they get patched out. But I think it would be kind of cool if maybe like a month or two after the introduction of a map, we would get a little update to it. It's like, hey, this seems to be a playstyle that we see quite a bit. This is a playstyle that we don't really see. This is a base that we generally don't see acquired at all. Maybe, yeah, try to make it a little bit more enticing. Switch it up. Get rid of the 8 golden minerals, or 8 blue mineral fields rather here, and add like 6 golden ones. Maybe remove both of the gas geysers and put one rich Vespene geyser there. Something to spice it up. I think it would be cool, but... anyways. That would require a little bit of work on the Blizzard end of things. Haha! Yeah, that's not happening, is it? Maybe Microsoft will change something, I don't know. I felt pretty cheeky actually a couple of days ago. I decided to tweet the CEO of Xbox, Phil Spencer. He didn't respond, but the tweet did get a couple hundred likes. I wonder, I have no idea how any of the high-level executives at companies, like for example Xbox, use their social media, right? It seems like it's his personal social media. If a tweet gets a couple hundred likes and he's tagged into it, do you think he picks up on it? Maybe he's seen it, right? Anyways, I basically just said that it would be cool to see some development for StarCraft 2 again, because there's a lot of low-hanging fruits that could make this game better. Like, for example, getting... like, how much work do you think it is to update this base, for example, right? And then, I don't know, re-upload the maps after, like, it takes minutes. I can guarantee you that it takes several minutes, like maybe an hour, right? But the problem is there has to be somebody to actually do it, and currently that doesn't seem to be the case. Anyhow, so far, let's talk about the game. Nothing has been lost yet. I opened up that units lost tab for about half a second, but nothing has been lost yet. Okay. Yeah. Not a fan of that Oracle movement. That's pretty weak. Diving in there while already getting shot at. Not ideal whatsoever. It's gonna be the Blink Stalker follow-up here. This should be something that Scarlett has a lot of experience against. 4.5 minute Lair, 4.5 minute Roach Warren, double gas is coming up right now as well for the Canadian Zerg. Two drones for one Oracle to be this low in health. I'm not in love with it, but at least it's not dead, you know? It's got literally 1 health. It will regenerate some of those shields, so that's nice at least. Overlord speed coming up, together with a Lair. Well, that's a big indicator that Scarlett wants to go for a Queen drop. Yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna morph into Dropper Lords and then send the ladies towards the other side of the map. A lot of Overlords prepared in advance as well, just so we can make a ton of army. I think it's these two. This is the ones, yeah. Sometimes people ask me if I've already seen the games. I've not seen these games, but these are the 2 Overlords that I would have selected to turn into Dropper Lords too. There's a lot of tendencies. If you've played a lot of StarCraft, there's a lot of tendencies that every player gets. And when you're looking for Overlord drops, these are the 2 most likely Overlords, man. The ones that are hanging out right over there. So, beautiful scout right here by Harstem. One advantage of this harassment of his being so lackluster is that he's actually got a lot of energy saved up on those Oracles. Blink is also finishing up. I don't love this here for Scarlett. Nah, she's playing against the wrong strategy. Harstem buying this much time is absolutely massive. Keep in mind that there is no roach speed or evo chamber upgrade or anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, Scarlett didn't take the gases over at the 3rd. Whilst we are at 58 workers, she's also not remaking queens, so she's all the way up to 1,000 minerals here. She really needs to be either making a 4th, or the gases, or roach speed, or extra queens. But like, or maybe a mix of all of it. Instead, what we're doing is just go for a slow attack here. What, 1,500 minerals in the bank? I think this push was supposed to go a lot smoother. Harstem is doing a significantly better job spending his resources. Although 4 gateways is not quite ideal. I would have loved to see this go up to at least like 6 or so. But anyways, battery overcharged, not even getting shut down yet. Scarlett's got way too much money in the bank. Now finally is when she starts up additional queens. But that means that she's going to be flooding resources for the next few minutes. And I'm a little afraid that if Harstem decides to commit to a counterattack after this aggression is over, that the amount of stalkers is just, oh, okay, we're not even gonna go there. That the amount of stalkers would be impossible to stop. I think Scarlett is thinking the exact same thing. Harstem played an excellent series, didn't really make a lot of mistakes, and simply outplayed Scarlett here. Very well done.